Hi guys! Today I wanted to bring up something that needs a fuller explanation and will hopefully add to what I've already shared about my life, including the content of my additional channel, Cosmic Voices. As I've mentioned throughout this channel, I came into this life awakened with memories of who I am and where I came from, and have not lost those memories throughout life. Although I will admit that there were times as a young woman that I sort of set this awareness aside to focus more on the human life plan that I came here to follow as a starseed walk-in. Schooling, falling in love, marriage, career. However, I never completely lost my ET awareness of self. And the contrast between life on Earth and the amazing realm that I came from. As far as my life as a starseed, I shared a lot of that journey through two earlier videos entitled Stages of a Starseed Parts 1 and 2, which you'll find on this channel. Some of what I only mentioned but was never really explained is what I wanted to talk to you about today. Also, in a previous podcast called The Divine Conception, I went into quite a bit of detail about my companion guides who've been with me throughout this and other lifetimes, who they are and so on. They taught me amazing things, including who I am as a soul being and the many ET lifetimes that I've chosen and why I presently chosen to come into an earthly life. Interestingly, from the very beginning of this human life, the guides have often referred to me as their beloved child, and in fact would begin most transmissions with those words. Their presence in my life has meant everything to me, especially those times when I felt I just couldn't go on and begging to come back home. They took me into the celestial realms and showed me where I came from as a soul, stating over and over again that I am one of their angelic children who, as they put it, voluntarily fell to earth to do the great work. They express that each soul being began as a holy expression of Source God, and that some of these splinters of Source have chosen to dive deeply into the lower realms with the objective of gaining as much physical experience as possible, while other of these fragments or sparks of the divine chose to remain closer to the origin and have not dived quite as deep or had as many physical incarnations as others, and therefore may remain more perhaps naive than other souls who've had more physical experience in the denser realms. And of course, this doesn't mean that one soul is greater than another, only that some have had more exposure to the challenges of physical survival. Well, although they refer to humans as angelic children, I can assure you that there were many times throughout my life that I felt and acted anything but angelic. And yet they would always remind me that each experience I had was to learn compassion for all, especially for the suffering humans of planet Earth. They reminded me that one of the features of my pre-birth life plan was to delve deeply into each aspect of humanity, not only as a means of expression for the soul, but as an empathic being, where I could help to uplift those in pain through various characteristics built into the very nature of my personality, always wanting to make others laugh or feel better. My mother once told me that she wrote into my baby book that I was the happiest baby of her experience. Yet, as I lived my life, one thing unfortunately became very clear, and that is that not every human desires to be uplifted or even smiled at. I sadly discovered that sometimes others seemed to be angry with me if I was too happy or friendly. I once lived in the largest city in this state, and here's me bouncing along, enjoying my day and smiling to everyone who passed. And I would estimate that nearly half of all the people that I passed by were unfriendly or even annoyed at my smiling face and cheerful demeanor. And I learned the necessity of carefully choosing how I would represent myself to others and became much more cautious. So, to make this point even clearer, I've always been an optimist, totally trusting that everything would always turn out fine. And once I found that I could manifest, I became pretty peaceful with life on Earth, knowing that it's just a game, and even if something really hurtful happens, by teasing or making fun of me, it would only last a short time and I would soon be on to something more fun. I believed only in the magic of goodness and love, and never even really considered anything like monsters or vampires or bad ghosts or even bad politicians. Although, interestingly, when I was a teenager, I worked in the local movie theater. So there were many movies that I was presented with on the screen that I would never have purposely chosen to watch. But I just kind of chalked it up to imaginative screenplays. Not that any of this could actually exist in real life, right? Through my naive mind, the way I saw it then was that we're all just here to be happy. And of course there's some truth to that, but that's as far as I went with it. Life was supposed to be sunshine and roses. And if it wasn't, that must mean that someone was just doing something wrong. And I figured the best way to get past any negative event was just to ignore it and put your attention on what is positive and carefree. I purposely focused on only one side of this human life, the side that showed me beauty and love. As I mentioned, I've always chosen to watch only positive movies with no bad language and happy endings, and to read books that taught about spirituality and love. I couldn't stand violence or harsh language and would cry and cry if an innocent animal or child was hurt. I couldn't stand it if someone was bullied and didn't even want to consider the wars or persecution of any kind. I was totally blind to any source of evil or wickedness, and spent my life looking only on beauty and kindness. As some of you are aware, I once had an Andromedan teacher who awakened me to the quantum world and the truth of God, and spoke of how reality was created and the changes that humanity's gone through. Well, I once told this ascended master that all I wanted was to know everything. When I said that, an intense look of sorrow came over his face, and he leaned close to me and said, "Even if knowing everything would make you very sad?" Well, at the time, his remark didn't mean very much to me, but I've always remembered it. And over the past 10 years or so, have really understood how deep his question to me really was. Okay, so how did I finally discover the truth about this world of third density? Well, it began when my guides introduced me to a Taygetan Pleiadian girl named Taashnu, who showed up one night and told me she was here to encourage me to pull my head up out of the sand and open up to a critical truth that I had ignored for all of my life. She insisted that I would never be able to perform my celestial mission without understanding certain facts. She maintained that if I continued to put my attention only on how wonderful life is, I would never be totally safe or able to make the difference that I was meant to. She went on to say that I had chosen to come into a planet of low-density duality with the purpose of assisting others with my knowledge, but would never be able to do this if I wasn't even aware of what others were really going through. That I was only seeing one side of the coin, and that those who are dominated by a terrible corruption or wickedness that I didn't even know or admit existed, how could I, Little Miss Sunshine, be of any real help to anyone? I had to first at least be acquainted with their plight. I had to know their pain. She spent months sharing information with me that, to tell the truth, was very hard for me to hear or even to acknowledge as fact. I just didn't want to know how bad the bad guys really were, and the tortures and torments that have gone on in this world since the Lyrian race was first taken over by an invading ET race. She explained why planet Earth is the way it is now, and about the experiment that caused mankind's fall into the darkness and fear, which changed a paradise into a fight for survival. She was very kind, but also quite serious and exacting in her insistence that I gain this information, not only for my own experience as a human on Earth, but to deepen my compassion for those that I could possibly help. Every time I resisted, she would assure me that it wasn't necessary that I focus on this harsh information all the time or let it take over my life, and that once I understood and integrated this knowledge, that my ability to provide comfort and solace to another would be increased immeasurably. So this leads me to why I decided to make this video. When Taashnu informed me that she was leaving, she remarked that I would now be open to receiving information that I had previously subconsciously blocked through my insistence that I would only accept incoming information that was uplifting and positive, and that this, without realizing it, had blocked great knowledge from coming through about the freeing of planet Earth from the hostile forces of corruption and control. She said that if I didn't know that there was this current fight between goodness and evil, the information would not even be able to come come through, be received. So after Tashnu left, I began receiving important transmissions from many different high vibrational sources that brought through details about what's happening on planet Earth and above our skies, including knowledge coming directly from extraterrestrials themselves and advising humans how to escape the control and remove themselves from the matrix and the cycle of reincarnation and so on. This is when I started creating content for my other channel, Cosmic Voices. I created that channel for the information that is received through the process of channeling. Well, the first communication that came through was from a group of star beings from a non-physical realm called Odila. The information they brought through was phenomenal, at least to me, because it was so informative about what was happening now and would even occasionally speak words in a language I had never heard before. Well, at that time, I was so extremely nervous about channeling in front of the camera that all I could do was look down at the floor and just allow them to speak through me. They brought through important information about who they are and why they've come here at this time, and to alert us all that mankind is now at a dangerous tipping point with an uncertain future and is in dire need of a new direction. They also spoke about the need to bring imagination back to those controlled humans. They explained that they would be sending through messages from other galaxies and realms, some in the form of true accounts and stories coming directly from the ET beings who lived the events and directly received verbally by me. The reason behind these stories would be to inform humans that there are multitudes of amazing planets and dimensions outside of Earth that humans could choose to reincarnate onto, and that they don't need to come back here. Then the guides started bringing through other messages from those ET races in orbit above the planet, or even those in the invisible higher densities, with anything they felt might assist humans through these uncertain and even hazardous times. So the reason I wanted to bring all this up now was that just a few days ago, I received a message that I just posted onto Cosmic Voices that I wanted to let you know about, for any of you that just might have an interest in checking it out. I first received a message from this same group calling themselves the Hybrids in 2020. Then they returned with almost the same message again in 2022. And then again a few days ago on June 2nd, 2024. They really want to get this message out there to humanity, but they said that many are not listening or want to follow the advice. So I'll add a link to their message below this video, and you can watch that podcast there, if you choose. So anyway, I first wanted to clarify why I have two YouTube channels and why this might be significant. One for telling my life story as a starseed, and the other for the channeled information that comes through whenever. I also felt it was important to acknowledge that there are probably many other reluctant channelers like myself, out there who are trying to discover their role in the ongoing process from third and fourth density and into those higher realms that we all came from. I just want you to know that there are many of us who are telling our stories and finding ways to inform others about the reasons behind this shift and why it's all happening the way it is, and that there's never anything to fear. This way we can all be here for each other, to support and see each other through the the craziness and on through to the other side of peace and integration of duality into a union of souls and the bringing together of humans and their galactic families. I also hope that this might be of some use to other starseeds and humans who are just now finding their way into their own spiritual awakening, and that we never have to feel alone or abnormal because we don't fit into the box that most of our friends and family fit into. This is a time to discover who we are, not only as an uncertain and veiled human, but as the brilliant and spectacular spirits we really are. Thank you all for staying with me through another rather unconventional Starseed Odyssey, and I truly wish you all a most wonderful day or night, wherever you are. See you soon. Bye.